"Those girls live on my street," the little black girl said. And everything changed forever. Claire Whitmore froze in the middle of the Beverly Hills luxury shopping mall parking lot, her Prada bag slipping from her paralyzed fingers. The black child, approximately 7 years old, with disheveled braids and a simple dress stained with dirt, was pointing directly at the 2 4-year-old twin girls Claire was holding by the hands. "What did you say?" Claire managed to ask, her voice coming out hoarse. The girl approached, her brown eyes fixed on the blonde, blue-eyed twins wearing matching Ralph Lauren dresses. "They live on my street. In the yellow house with the broken fence. I see them playing in the yard every day." Claire's heart beat erratically. She had adopted Emma and Sophie 3 years ago through an exclusive private agency. 6-month-old babies, healthy, with all the perfect documentation. They cost $120,000 each. "You're confusing them with other children," Claire said, trying to maintain her composure. "My daughters never lived in any yellow house." The black girl shook her head with conviction. "No, ma'am. It's them. The one with the pink bow has a little mole behind her left ear. And the other one is afraid of big dogs." Claire felt the world spin. Sophie really did have a tiny mole behind her left ear. And Emma had been terrified of large dogs since she was a baby. "How do you know these things?" Claire demanded, her voice rising an octave. "Because I used to live in the house next door before my grandmother got sick. I played with them in the yard. Their mother's name was Jennifer and she worked nights at the hospital. She always asked me to help take care of them." The name Jennifer pierced Claire's chest like a knife. The adoption agency had said the biological mother was anonymous. No name. No information. Everything sealed for legal reasons. "My name is Keisha," the girl continued. "And if you don't believe me, go to 247 Oakwood Avenue. Jennifer still lives there. She never stopped looking for the daughters who disappeared." Claire gripped the twins tighter, her maternal instinct conflicting with growing terror. The girls looked curiously at Keisha, with no apparent recognition on their childish faces. "You're lying," Claire said, but her voice trembled. "These are my daughters. I have all the legal documents. I know what I saw, ma'am. And I know Jennifer cried every night because someone took her babies while she was at work. The police said there was no evidence. But I remember the girls. They used to call me Keishi, because they couldn't pronounce it right." Emma suddenly looked at Keisha and murmured, "Keishi." Claire's world collapsed in that instant. She remembered perfectly the day she received the twins. Her husband Richard, CEO of a technology company, had arranged everything through exclusive connections. The adoption was quick, discreet, efficient. He guaranteed everything was perfectly legal. But Claire had never asked deep questions. She was so desperate to be a mother after years of failed fertility treatments that she accepted the opportunity without questioning. "Where are your parents?" Claire asked Keisha, looking around for adults. "My grandmother is sick in the hospital. I came here alone by bus because I saw you entering the mall. I recognize the girls from the photo Jennifer keeps on the refrigerator." Claire looked around frantically. Mall security guards circulated, shoppers passed hurriedly, no one paying attention to the conversation that was destroying her reality. No one noticed the courage of that black child who had traveled alone across the city to do the right thing. "You need to leave," Claire said, her voice broken. "These are my daughters. Legally mine." Keisha didn't move. Jennifer never gave up. She works 3 jobs now to pay private detectives. Everyone in the neighborhood knows she's looking for Emma and Sophie. The names. The girl knew the exact names. Claire had kept the same names because the agency said the children already responded to them. At the time, it seemed like a kindness. Now, it seemed like condemning evidence. How does a 7-year-old come alone by bus to Beverly Hills? Claire questioned, looking for flaws in the story. "I'm 8, ma'am. And I learned to ride the bus because I needed to visit my grandmother in different hospitals. Life teaches fast when you have no choice." The forced maturity in the girl's voice echoed truth. Claire knew that tone. It was the same she heard in children who grew up too fast, taking on responsibilities they shouldn't carry. "If I go to that address and find nothing, I'll call the police for harassment," Claire threatened, but her voice had no conviction. "Go," Keisha responded calmly. "Jennifer is home today because it's her day off. She always stays home on Thursdays, waiting for someone to bring news about her daughters. Claire picked up the bags from the floor with trembling hands. The twins, sensing the tension, began to whimper. "Mommy, who is she?" Sophie asked, pointing at Keisha. "Nobody important," Claire lied, but her voice broke on the last word. She dragged the girls toward the parking lot, her luxury car waiting with lights flashing. Keisha remained standing, watching them leave with eyes that carried too much wisdom for her age. Inside the car, Claire trembled so much she could barely put the key in the ignition. The twins chatted quietly in the back seat, oblivious to the bomb that had exploded in their adoptive mother's life. What Claire didn't know was that casual encounter in the parking lot was just the beginning. In the coming days, she would discover that her perfect life was built on lies, forged documents, and the desperation of a working mother who had her daughters stolen while struggling to survive. And Keisha, the girl who risked everything to do the right thing, was about to become the key piece that would bring down an illegal adoption network operating in the Los Angeles elite for over a decade. If you're wondering what Claire will do now, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Because what happens when a mother discovers her daughters may have been stolen from another family is a journey that will shake foundations and reveal truths many would prefer to keep buried. Claire drove for 2 hours before finding the courage to go to the address Keisha had given. Oakwood Avenue was on the other side of town, a working-class neighborhood with modest homes and old cars parked on the streets. House 247 was exactly as Keisha described: faded yellow, wooden fence broken in some spots, a small yard with old toys scattered around. Claire parked 3 houses ahead, watching. Her heart was pounding. The twins slept in the back seat, exhausted from the afternoon at the mall. A woman came out of the yellow house. Brown hair tied in a ponytail, nursing uniform, appearing about 32 but with a tired expression that aged her. She carried a thermal bag and checked her phone repeatedly before getting into a dented 2008 Honda Civic. Claire waited for the woman to leave and, with her heart racing, called her husband. "Richard, I need to ask you something about the girl's adoption." Silence on the other end. "What is it, Claire?" "I'm in a meeting." "Are you absolutely certain that everything was legal? All the documents, all the signatures?" Another silence, longer this time. "Why are you asking this now? It's been 3 years. Just answer, Richard." The agency guaranteed yes. "We paid a lot of money precisely to ensure everything was legal and discreet." "Why?" Claire hung up without answering. That night, while the twins slept, she opened the home safe and took out all the adoption documentation. She spent hours analyzing each paper, each signature, each stamp. Everything seemed too perfect. The signatures were too fluid. The stamps, too impeccable. And the biological mother's name was completely omitted, something that, now that she thought about it, seemed extremely irregular. In the following days, Claire discreetly hired a private investigator. She didn't tell Richard. She just said she needed to verify something about the girl's documentation for enrollment in a new school. The investigator, a man named Thomas with 30 years of experience, analyzed the documents and frowned. "Mrs. Whitmore, these documents were processed by Bright Future Adoptions, correct?" "Yes." "Why?" "That agency was investigated 2 years ago for irregularities, but was never formally charged. They had very strong legal protections. Expensive lawyers." Claire felt her stomach turn. "Can you investigate if a woman named Jennifer, who lives at 247 Oakwood Avenue, had twin babies who disappeared 3 years ago?" Thomas took notes and promised results in a week. Meanwhile, Claire couldn't stop observing the twins. Every gesture, every word, every reaction. She looked for signs of buried memories, fragments of a previous life the girls couldn't consciously articulate. Emma had frequent nightmares. Always had. Claire thought it was something normal in childhood, but now wondered if they were traumatic memories. Sophie refused certain foods. Claire never understood why, but the girl had a specific aversion to mashed potatoes and roast chicken. What if they were foods she associated with the trauma of separation? On the 5th day, Claire discreetly returned to Oakwood Avenue. This time, she waited for Jennifer to come home from work. She saw her enter the house carrying grocery bags, moving with the exhaustion of someone who worked double shifts. Through the living room window, Claire watched Jennifer stop in front of the refrigerator and gently touch a photo attached there. Claire felt tears burn her eyes. That night, Thomas called. Mrs. Whitmore, I found something. Jennifer Carson reported the disappearance of two twin daughters in March 2021. Emma and Sophie Carson. The police filed the case for lack of evidence after 3 months of investigation. Claire held the phone so tightly her fingers turned white. And the exact date of disappearance? March 15, 2021. Claire opened the adoption file with trembling hands. The date she officially received the twins, March 22, 2021. 1 week after the disappearance. Thomas, I need more information. Everything you can find about this Jennifer Carson and about Bright Future Adoptions. Mrs. Whitmore, I need to warn you. If these children were in fact stolen, you're in an extremely complicated legal situation. I know. Keep investigating. During the following days, Claire lived in a waking nightmare. She maintained the normal routine with the girls' park, ballet classes, family dinners, but inside she was crumbling. Richard noticed her distance but was too busy with work to delve deeper. A week later, Thomas delivered a complete report. Bright Future Adoptions had operated for 8 years, processing express adoptions for wealthy families. Always babies or very small children. Always with impeccable documentation. Always with absurdly high prices. And always with biological mothers who worked night shifts, were low income, and didn't have strong family structures to pressure investigations. They chose victims meticulously, Thomas explained. Women who wouldn't have resources to fight back. And the children were taken to families in other states or, in your case, across town, far enough to avoid casual encounters. But Keisha found us, Claire murmured. Who? Claire told about the encounter at the mall. Thomas nodded gravely. The girl was brave. She risked a lot confronting you. If the people behind this find out. He didn't need to complete the sentence. Claire made a decision that night. She took her laptop and began writing an anonymous email to Jennifer Carson. She deleted 3 versions before finding the right words. But before pressing send, she stopped. What if this destroyed the twins? What if Jennifer wanted her daughters back immediately? What if the truth tore apart 2 families instead of reuniting one? Claire closed the laptop, tears streaming silently down her face. In the next room, Emma woke up screaming from a nightmare. Claire ran there, hugging the girl against her chest. Sure, Mommy's here. I dreamed someone took me from you, Emma sobbed. Claire froze. What do you mean, sweetheart? A crying woman. She was calling me, but I couldn't reach her. Claire's heart broke into pieces. In that moment, watching Emma fall asleep again between sobs, Claire realized something fundamental. No matter what she discovered, no matter how many devastating truths emerged, she loved these girls with every fiber of her being. But she also knew that across town, another woman loved these same girls with the same intensity. And somewhere in this city, an 8-year-old girl named Keisha carried the weight of a secret that could destroy or save them all. What Claire didn't know was that Keisha hadn't stopped at the mall. The girl was building her own plan, gathering evidence, and was about to do something that would force everyone to face the truth, no matter the consequences. 2 weeks later, Claire received a call from an unknown number. Mrs. Whitmore? This is Detective Angela Martinez from the Los Angeles Police Department. We need to talk about your daughters. Claire's blood froze. What is this about? We prefer to speak in person. Could you come to the station today? Claire arrived at the station 3 hours later, without telling Richard. Detective Martinez, a woman about 40 with a serious expression, led her to an interrogation room. Mrs. Whitmore, we received information that Emma and Sophie Whitmore may be Emma and Sophie Carson, 2 children who disappeared 3 years ago. Claire felt the walls spin. Who provided this information? Martinez placed a folder on the table. A minor presented photographic documentation, old medical records, and detailed testimony. She also brought evidence that Bright Future Adoptions operated a child trafficking scheme. Keisha. The girl hadn't given up. Where did she get all that? Claire asked, genuinely impressed. The minor in question demonstrated exceptional determination. She accessed public records, talked to neighbors, collected old photos. Basically, she did the work the police should have done 3 years ago. Martinez opened the folder, revealing photos of the twins at 6 months, almost identical to those Claire had. medical records showing vaccinations and appointments, and a devastating photo of Jennifer Carson holding 2 babies in a hospital, dated 2 months before the disappearance. "We need to do a DNA test," Martinez said. "With your consent and the possible biological mothers. And if I refuse? Then we'll obtain a court order. But it would be better for everyone, especially for the children, if this were done voluntarily." Claire closed her eyes. The world she knew was crumbling brick by brick. "I consent. But I want to be present when you talk to Jennifer Carson." Martinez hesitated, then nodded. 3 days later, Claire and Jennifer met for the first time at the station. Jennifer entered the room with a mixture of desperate hope and terror in her eyes. When she saw Claire, she froze. "You're the woman who has my daughters." It wasn't a question. Claire couldn't respond. The 2 women stared at each other across an abyss of pain, anger, love, and fear. "I didn't know," Claire finally said, her voice broken. "I swear I didn't know they were stolen from you." Jennifer took a deep breath, fighting tears. "Are they okay? Are they happy? Healthy?" "They are. They're amazing girls, intelligent, loving." "I know," Jennifer interrupted. "Because I raised them during the first 6 months of their lives. I breastfed them, cared for them when they had colic, sang to them to sleep. Until someone entered my house while I was working at the hospital and took them." Claire felt tears stream down her face. "Jennifer, I'm so sorry. I worked 3 jobs to give them a better life. And the reward was losing my babies to someone who had money to buy them." The accusation hurt like a stab, but Claire knew it was true. The DNA results arrived a week later. 99.9% compatibility. Emma and Sophie were biologically Jennifer Carson's daughters. The news spread through the media like wildfire. Beverly Hills executive adopts babies stolen from low-income nurse. The tabloids had a field day. Richard, who finally discovered everything, panicked. "Claire, we need to hire the best lawyers. We can claim good faith that we didn't know." "Richard, they were stolen. Stolen from a mother who loved them. And we love them too. We cared for them for 3 years. That has to count for something." The investigation into Bright Future Adoptions revealed an even darker network. 6 wealthy families had adopted children through the agency. All the children had been stolen from working mothers, mostly Black or Latina women in vulnerable situations. Those responsible for the agency were arrested. The director, a man named Gregory Sutton, had profited over $4 million from the scheme in 8 years. But the question that paralyzed everyone was, what to do with the children now? Emma and Sophie, now 4 years old, had no conscious memory of Jennifer. Claire was the only mother they knew. Jennifer could legally demand immediate return of her daughters. But seeing photos of the girls happy, laughing, playing, she hesitated. It was Keisha who proposed the solution. The 8-year-old girl asked to speak with the judge responsible for the case. At the hearing, with impressive maturity, she presented her argument. "Judge, I've known Jennifer since I moved to her street 5 years ago. I saw her cry every night for her daughters. But I also saw Mrs. Whitmore at the mall. She loves those girls too. She didn't know they were stolen." "And what is your suggestion, young lady?" the judge asked, genuinely curious. "That Emma and Sophie have 2 families. That Jennifer and Claire learn to share. The girls are still small. They can grow up knowing both. It's better than tearing them from a mother again." The courtroom fell into absolute silence. The judge considered. Shared custody in cases like this is highly irregular. "Stealing babies is too," Keisha interrupted with courage that surprised even the experienced lawyers in the room. Weeks of negotiations followed. Claire and Jennifer were forced to sit together, talk, face painful truths. "I hate you for having what was stolen from me," Jennifer said during a mediation session. "But I know you love them too. And they love you." "I would give anything to go back in time and ask questions I didn't ask," Claire responded. "But I can't. I can only try to do what's best for Emma and Sophie now." Gradually, painfully, they built an agreement. Jennifer would have primary custody. The girls would live with her during the week. Claire would have alternating weekends and holidays. Both would make important decisions together. But the most important part of the agreement came from Keisha again. The girl suggested she serve as a bridge between the two families, someone the girls knew and trusted, who could help with the transition. They used to call me Keishi when they were babies, Keisha explained. Maybe I can help them remember and accept Jennifer, while keeping their love for Mrs. Clare. On the day of the first transition, Claire took the twins to the yellow house on Oakwood Avenue. Emma and Sophie were confused, scared. Jennifer waited on the porch, tears streaming silently. And Keisha was there, extending her hands to the two girls. Remember me? I'm Keishi. And this is Jennifer, who took care of you when you were little babies. She loves you very much. And Claire loves you too. You're so lucky to have two mommies who love you so much. Emma looked at Sophie. Sophie looked at Emma. The twins, with that silent communication only twins have, seemed to make a decision. Sophie took a hesitant step toward Jennifer. Emma followed. Jennifer knelt, arms open, sobbing. My babies. My girls. Mommy never stopped looking for you. Claire watched, her heart breaking and healing simultaneously. Justice had been done, but not in the way anyone expected. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't clean. It was painful and complicated. But it was real. And it was human. 2 years passed since that devastating day in the mall parking lot. Emma and Sophie, now 6 years old, lived a routine many considered impossible, but which for them had become normal. During the week, they lived with Jennifer in the yellow house on Oakwood Avenue. They woke up early, had simple but lovingly made breakfast, went to the neighborhood public school. Jennifer worked only 2 jobs now. She had left the third to have more time with her daughters. On weekends, Claire picked them up in her luxury SUV. The girls spent 2 days in the Beverly Hills mansion, with a pool, huge room decorated like a princess castle, and all the toys money could buy. But the most surprising thing for everyone was that it worked. The girls didn't see 2 separate lives. They saw one expanded life, rich in experiences and multiplied love. Mommy Claire taught me to swim in the big pool, Sophie excitedly told Jennifer. Mommy Jennifer makes the best mac and cheese in the world, Emma told Claire. They didn't call one adoptive mom and the other biological mom. For Emma and Sophie, both were simply mommy. And that was enough. Jennifer and Claire never became friends. The wound was too deep, the trauma too real. But they developed mutual respect and, more importantly, a functional partnership centered on the girls' well-being. How was the week? Claire asked during transitions. Sophie is having trouble with math. Can you practice with her on the weekend? Jennifer responded. Of course. And Emma mentioned she wants violin lessons. Can we split the cost? I'll pay for lessons, you buy the instrument? Deal. Practical, direct conversations, focused on the girls. No personal intimacy, but with professional efficiency. Richard divorced Claire 8 months after the revelation. He couldn't deal with the public shame, with the judgmental looks from his executive colleagues, with the fact that his wife had chosen to do what was right instead of protecting their social status. You destroyed our life because of a poor nurse, he said during the separation. I corrected a terrible mistake, Claire responded calmly. And if you can't see the difference, then you never really knew me. Claire lost half her friends from the elite. The other executives' wives avoided her at social events, whispering malicious comments about that woman who returned her daughters. But Claire discovered something liberating in losing everything she thought was important. Without the weight of appearances, without the prison of social status, she was finally free to be who she really was. She sold the mansion and bought a modest house just 15 minutes from Oakwood Avenue. It made transitions easier for the girls and secretly allowed Claire to be close in case Jennifer needed help. Jennifer, for her part, slowly began to accept that Claire wasn't the villain of the story. Both were victims of the same cruel system that saw children as commodities. Keisha became an inseparable part of the expanded family. Now 10 years old, she visited the girls regularly, told stories of when they were babies, served as a living bridge between 2 worlds. Jennifer paid for Keisha's private school as thanks. Claire covered the medical costs of the girl's grandmother. But Keisha always said she didn't do it for rewards. I did it because it was right, she explained with that wisdom that didn't match her age. And because Emma and Sophie deserved to be with their real mother. But Claire is their mother too now, Jennifer added, words that cost her dearly to say, but which she said anyway. The case generated legislative changes. New laws were passed making private adoptions much more rigorous. Background check requirements tripled. Gregory Sutton's scheme could never easily repeat itself. The other 5 families who adopted through Bright Future Adoptions went through similar processes. Some returned the children immediately. Others fought in court for years. Each case was unique, each solution painful in its own way. On the 2nd anniversary of the reunification, Jennifer organized a small party at the Yellow House. Claire was there, as were Keisha and her grandmother, now recovered. The twins played in the yard, their laughter echoing through the sunny Los Angeles afternoon. "Do you think they'll forgive us someday?" Claire asked softly to Jennifer as they watched the girls. "For what?" Jennifer responded. "For the impossible situation we put them in? For the adults who failed them? For everything." Jennifer thought for a long moment. "I think they've already forgiven us. Children are wiser than adults about this. They simply love. We're the ones who complicate everything." Claire nodded, tears in her eyes. Emma ran to them, Sophie right behind. "Mommy Claire, Mommy Jennifer, come play with us." Both women stood up. For a brief moment, their eyes met, a silent exchange of shared pain, earned respect, and love multiplied by 2 extraordinary children. Keisha watched from the porch, a satisfied smile on her face. She had risked a lot that day in the mall parking lot. She could have ignored it, moved on, let someone else solve it. But she didn't. And because of her courage, 2 girls had both their mothers. Neither family was complete, but both were whole. Years later, when Emma and Sophie were teenagers, a documentary was made about the case. The girls gave interviews, mature beyond their years. "It was strange at first," Sophie admitted. "But now I can't imagine life without either of them." "Some people have one family. We have 2, Emma added. "And that made us stronger, not weaker." The lesson they learned, that love isn't finite, that families can take unexpected forms, that doing what's right is more important than looking right, that lesson would echo throughout the rest of their lives. And it all started because an 8-year-old girl had the courage to tell the truth. Dear listener, what would you do in Claire's place? Would you return the children you loved for 3 years? And if you were Jennifer, could you forgive and share your daughters? These stories remind us that justice isn't always simple, that love is more complex than we imagine, and that sometimes the bravest people are those we least expect. If this story touched your heart, leave your like. But most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other real stories of courage, justice, and love that defy all expectations. Your company motivates us to continue bringing stories that matter. Because in the end, it's not about who's right or who has more rights. It's about what's best for those who need protection most, the children.